everyone. It's not quite time to start, but we're going to do a little prelude because I saw Dee Dawkins' paper headed to the door. I know she has another appointment somewhere else. So I just wanted to give a shout out to you and give you an opportunity, 2 minutes to say something before you go.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dee Dawkins Taylor, and I am running for Georgia Secretary of State. This race is very important for many reasons. One, we have seen the erosion of our voting rights here in the state of Georgia. Over the past few years, we have seen hundreds of thousands purged from the voter rolls. Not to mention, we have seen voting machines that do not work. We have a corporation and a licensing office that does not get your information back in a timely manner. So it is very important who sits in that office. This is not necessarily a political office, it's an administrative office. And so my background, which a lot of people don't know, I have a master's in public administration and a master's in human resource management with a concentration in information technology. That is what is needed to get those machines and those offices back on the right side. So again, I am running for Secretary of State because people have bled and died for us to have the right to vote. And some people are playing with this like it's a game, but it's really not a game. If you look at the numbers, they are playing around with voter suppression because they know that if we get to the polls and vote, we will change things. So it's very important that we get to the polls and vote, that we have a system in place where people all votes count, and that we know when it's time to go to the polls. They said that yesterday they had the lowest number of people that went to the polls across the state. Why do you think that happened? Because the Secretary of State's office did not do a good job of promoting souls to the polls across this state. Why do you think they did that? Because this year they tried to pass legislation to get rid of souls to the polls. So you've got to be careful, you got to be vigilant and watch what's happening here in Georgia. That's why I'm running for Secretary of State, to make a difference. Again, Dee Dawkins Taylor, DEE, dedicated, effective, efficient. And just remember this, that if it's not D, it's not for me. Thank y'all.
Okay, your attention again. Thank you for your patience in our little prelude that we had for a few minutes, but we're ready to get started. Traffic is really bad out there, so I know there are people who are on their way, and they'll get here, but I think almost all of the candidates for the first panel is here. Anyway, so I'm Jennifer Parker. I'm the editor and publisher of CrossRoadsNews. And of course, there would be no Jennifer Parker without Curtis Parker. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this evening at this forum that we're doing with First Afrikan Social Action Committee. This is also the church where I get my spiritual grounding, so I'm glad that they were able to partner with our newspaper to do this forum. As you all know, there's an election on May 22nd, and lots of candidates running for office. Many of them new faces we've never seen before, and so we want to provide this opportunity for even the candidates who are running need to know who they need to vote for, because everybody has to vote for somebody. And that's why we're here this evening. And I hope all of you at this stage already knows that early voting started on April 30th, so you can vote as soon as you not as soon as you leave here this evening, but tomorrow after you've heard from these people, you can go out and make your selection as early as tomorrow. Early voting goes on until May 18th. But before we get into all of that, I would like to welcome my pastor, Reverend Mar Ogu Wale.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. Just before I pray, I wanted to say to those of those who are running for office. This is such a critical time as you. What we do and how we behave locally has everything to do with what happens nationally and globally. So we have to lead in these days conscious of what's at stake. And everything is at stake. Let us pray. God, we give you thanks and praise and glory for the blessing, opportunity to engage you and one another in this place tonight. I pray that you by your Spirit will be powerfully present. Pray that you will cover those, O Lord, who are running, and anoint and bless those who win, that they might lead with the people in mind, and as unto you, that you might get the glory for all that is said and done. These blessings we give you thanks and praise and glory. All these people say amen.
So a few quick housekeeping. We have bathrooms outside to the left in the vestibule and also downstairs. This evening we will be doing the DeKalb Board of Commissioner races, and the DeKalb school board, and the Superior Court judges race, and also the governor's race. We'll also be doing that in this first segment. A couple of quick, each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and we'll give you a minute to respond to questions. For voters in the audience, residents in DeKalb County, if you have a question, we have volunteers with cards. They'll come around so that you can write your questions on the card and they'll bring it up to us so that we can ask your questions of the candidates. On Sunday, you're that as well. So if you raise your hand, if you have a question, Sandra Daniel from the First Afrikan Social Action Committee will bring your card, and so your questions can come up. Candidates who arrive after their panel is started, we will accommodate them if it's still going on. If not, they'll miss their opportunity. For the races that we're not doing, like the statewide race that we were not doing, if you're a candidate and you're here, let us know and we'll give you an opportunity to say hello for a minute. For those of you who are on social media and would like to tweet or go on Facebook or whatever during the course of the meeting, the Wi-Fi password is FAC 2015 if you're having problems logging in. We're also taping the forum and we will put that. FAPC 2015. And we're also taping the forum and will be broadcast on CrossRoadsNews.com for starters. We provided a table outside where you can put your information on, and would ask that you do not pass campaign literature out inside the sanctuary. So thank you so much for that. At this time, we'd like to invite the District 3 candidate, Larry Johnson, the incumbent, and Felton Wright to the table. We'd also like to invite Gregory Adams, the incumbent for Super District 7, Lorraine Cochran Johnson, John Colbert Jr., and Ed Williams. Put a shameless plug in. I know all these candidates because we have this great, those of you who listed, everybody's photo. Every one of them, their faces here, so you take your CrossRoadsNews out and look them up and go, oh, you're Nicholas Smith. Good to meet you. This is wonderful. All right. Okay, and so if you have a question for any of the county commissioners raise your hand. We'll bring you a card so that your questions can come up for us to ask. So while you're warming up, I'll pick those up. And so we'll give 2 minutes. Oh, and I need to introduce you to our timekeeper, Mr. Ross Compton, sitting at the front of the stand, Ross. And she smiles sweetly, but she's very mean if you don't. Okay, so you have 2 minutes for your opening statement, and so she'll start the clock at 2 minutes, and then when you have 30 seconds out, she will hold up Rod's children title, the 30-minute title, and then when you're done, she'll do 0, and if you still don't stop, she's gonna ring the bell. And I won't tell you what you'll do if you don't after that. But use your imagination. Okay, so now we'll start with Larry, the incumbent for District 3, with his 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's good to be here and be part. Thank you, Pastor Lomax, and thank you, CrossRoadsNews. Thank you all for coming out. There's so many things that you could be doing on this Monday evening, but you chose to come out and give your candidates. I'm Commissioner Johnson. I represent District 3. I've been representing them for about 16 years. The district goes from East Lake, Edgewood, Kirkwood, all the way over to Ellenwood. About 150,000 folks make up. We have one city, and that city of Atlanta, which is about 19,000 strong. The district started off in 2002, about 500,000 people throughout DeKalb, But then we grew as DeKalb County, 750,000 people. We had no sidewalks in our area. A lot of folks are walking on the dirt and high grass, and we were able to go through many of our areas from Candler Road, Columbia Drive, 2nd Avenue, Tilson Road, Columbia Drive, to really try to put pedestrians first in our communities. We also wanted to focus on wellness. Well, we've renovated N.A. Scott, put air conditioning. Midway Center didn't have air conditioning there before I got in office. Could you imagine your kids in an unair conditioned recreation center? And then we built a brand new one on Columbia Drive, which was the first intergenerational center in the Southeast, where you can go play bridge and basketball at the same time. And that's an amazing feat in our community because we deal with a disproportionate number of health disparities from diabetes to heart disease. So I'm commissioner as want to work hard. We now have $100 million coming to the district. We're going to pave all of our roads, not patch these potholes. We're going to do some great things in our community and do some maintenance into our parks and make a difference. I want to help our seniors. I want to help our young people and everybody in between because I'm here to make a difference in my experience and engagement counts. I'm building tradition, not resting on one, and you can see from the results that you can see from what we've done in District 3 to take it from having no sidewalks, infrastructure, to now doing some great things in our community. So please consider Larry Johnson for me. Thanks. Bye. Hopefully, I'm sorry.
Good evening. Of course, my name is Felton Wright, and I am a 45-year resident of District 3 back in DeKalb County. And I'll tell you something about myself. I am a graduate of DeKalb Community College and also Georgia State University. I have a BBA in accounting from Georgia State University. And I'll tell you the reason that I really want to run and to be your next commissioner is the way that things are going now with the county government. I've spoken before and I've told several groups, it takes 6 months to a year to get anything done. What I want to do in DeKalb County in this district is to clean it up. We have a serious litter problem and we have a serious sanitation problem. We can do much better than what we're doing. And also I want to work with the courts and the juvenile detention centers to reduce crime in this area. It has gotten out of hand, and I do not like the way that we handle the criminals right now. People that are locked up, they go home the same day if they're under 18 years old. That needs to stop. We need to deal with those people. Also, as far as dealing with the gentrification, I've spoken with several people on that. I do not want to see seniors taxed out of their homes. We have several people where people come in there and they'll put a $500,000 house or $300,000 house right next to a $60,000 or $80,000 house. 3 to 4 years, if you just own Social Security or whatever, you can be taxed out of that house. You'll have to sell it or just be put on the street. And anyway, that's what I want to do for us right now. Vote for Felton Wright. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see Commissioner Gregory Adams, so we'll start with you, Lorraine.
Good evening. First and foremost, let me thank you, Jennifer, for the opportunity and for what you do. Being a part of Black media, it's very important that we are informed. I am a wife, a mother, a concerned citizen, and a proud candidate for District 7 Commissioner. I stand here before you this evening. I empirically have a master's degree in public administration and criminal justice. I have a master's in the administration of criminal justice, but the thing that has prepared me most to be your next commissioner is my background in grant writing and economic development. I have worked behind the scenes for years, securing funding. Currently, I work with the Candida Fund, and we will be allocating over $20 million to 4 zip codes within DeKalb County, Georgia. Through the Office of Commissioner, it allows me to step from the back to the front. I believe that we all share the same concerns. We all travel the same roads. We all turn on our televisions, and for those of us who are actively engaged, we understand that we have issues with public safety. In order for us to move forward, a common denominator for all people is economic development. We have and we need resources within our county, and it's time that we have someone who has a seat at the table with the ability to get results. It's beyond belief to me when we look around us and we see businesses that are actively leaving our community. So as your next commissioner, I will aggressively work with individuals, partner, and have difficult conversations so that we are able to attract industry into our community. And above all, I will be a voice and I will make you proud. I will operate with dignity and respect, and I will be available to you to discuss issues that are relevant to our community. I ask you this evening for your confidence, and I ask you for your support as I become your next commissioner for District 7.
Good evening. My name is John Tolbert Jr. And this race comes down to character and understanding allocation of resources. Commissioner Larry Johnson said all. Well, I've heard all before. And one of the reasons I'm fighting and I'm running is to make sure that we get a piece of the pie in District 7. Ask yourself, what is John Tolbert's journey? I'm a graduate of Morehouse College. I've been in corporate America for 25 years. I currently work for General Motors. Think about that for a second. There have been many lessons and struggles along the way. The character of what candidates like myself and everyone here bring to the table is an internal intestinal fortitude to fight and never give up. I ran in 2016, and we ran on 3 platform issues: to fight crime, to bring viable businesses to the county, to repave these roads. We do 1, 2, and 3 correctly, will bleed into funding the DeKalb County Board of Education. And if we do all of those things, it comes down to having the ethical leadership deserving to serve the people in District 7. I want to talk about issues number 1, 2, and 3. 3.5, 4 weeks ago, I was campaigning on Western Chapel. I have 30 seconds to go. Long story short, some guy shot a rubber gun at me with rubber bullets. I waited for 1 hour and 36 minutes, and the police didn't come. Don't worry about me. I'm fighting for you to get better allocation with police and everything else. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ed Williams. I'm running for the 7th District Commission seat in DeKalb County. 7th District covers Doraville all the way to Stonecrest and DeKalb County East. It includes Stone Mountain, Pine Lake, Stonecrest, Lithonia, and Tucker. What I want you to know tonight, we are going through the experiment of democracy as we assemble here tonight as candidates. And you all are here to witness our testimony of what we plan to do if we are elected in office. Rise up, DeKalb. We are at a crossroads, and we have to make a decision as to what direction we want to go. Our citizenship is rooted in the United States Constitution and the Declaration, which we recognize that we have natural rights given to us by our Creator. Our Constitution ensures that minority rights are protected against the will of the majority. Every elected official takes an oath to defend the Constitution. It is what makes us uniquely American. Politics is more than just dollars and cents. It is about the people, lives, and relationships. And I am a 20-year resident of DeKalb County. I am a native of Atlanta. My family resides here in Metro Atlanta. I'm a graduate of Morehouse College, Clark Atlanta University, and I have a PhD from Clark Atlanta University. I also have a project management certification from Georgia Tech. I have been involved in the community for several years. I'm not just running for a title or a position. I want to give the government back to the people, and the government has been hijacked by corporations and special interests. I believe that residents' rights should be at the center of our government. I am running to give the power of the people and the power of better services to the residents of DeKalb County. I want to have more police on the streets with better pay and accountability. I want better code enforcement and cleaning DeKalb. I want more modern rail stations in DeKalb. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support and vote for the 7th District Commission seat. Thank you.
Okay, you'll have up to a minute. You don't have to take the whole minute, but if you need a minute to answer the next questions. What do you see as the top 3 issues faced in the district you're running, the District 3 and District 7? And if you're elected, what would you do to fix them? And if you're an incumbent, you can tell us what you've done to impact those issues during your time in office. And we will start with President Wright this time.
Thank you. The top 3 issues I see in DeKalb County right now, especially in District 3, is the little problem that we have at sanitation. And it's not just a sanitation problem, but it's inefficiency across the board to me with the different departments. If you call roads and drainage or sanitation, it can take you 6 months to a year to get anything done. About 4 years ago, when I really decided that maybe somebody else needs to run, was when my opponent was unopposed in the election. I was really disturbed by that because I went to vote just to vote for the other person, to be honest, because things won't get done the way they should be done in our district. And the other top thing that I am for right now is to reduce crime. And that is one of the major things that we need to reduce crime in this area. Thank you.
And we'll stay by race, so Larry, you could answer that question.
Of course, thank you so much. My opponent continues to try to talk about and denigrate the record, but you know he's talking about all his departments, but that's just, he needs to be running for CEO, not for the Board of Commissioners. And so part of the thing is just knowing how your government works and how things work and how things need to be done in our community. If you've been somewhere 45 years and just sit there, if I was Larry Johnson, I would just wait. I got involved as soon as I moved here. And so you got to get involved and not sit back and just wait for someone else to do it. You got to make things happen. And we've done that in our district. We funded our sanitation department, which is a strong department. It's one of the best services that we have. And we shouldn't denigrate that department because they're doing all that they can. During Hurricane Harvey in September, guess what? They were out there every day. Public Works were doing stuff for our roads. And so you really have to understand government before you can try to talk about what to do. And that's what we do, policy. And that's what we don't do what the executive branch does. So please hire people who understand your government. That's Larry Johnson.
All right. And for the District 7 candidates, we'll start with John. What do you see as the top 3 issues facing your district and essentially county?
Just mentioned them. Not gonna do a doom and gloom, but we need to really allocate our resources toward the police department. When I'm out campaigning early in the morning, when I'm out putting signs up, I don't see enough police in rotation. Bringing bigger and viable businesses to the county. Publix closed at South Harrison and Covington. Do we understand margins and what we need to do and the type of groceries we need to buy at a store like Publix to keep them open? We need to have dialogue, because just because we buy Hawaiian Punch, that's not gonna keep a viable business like Publix open. And fixing our roads. Again, if we make the county transportable, we can bring more residents and more businesses. So the same things that I campaigned in 2016, the same things that I'm fighting for right now. What would I do specifically? Allocate the resources to the areas that need it the most.
Thank you. Ed, your turn.
The top 3 important issues that are involved in my campaign is police, code enforcement, and accountability. We are 155 police short of what we should be as the county is concerned. We have one of the highest crime rates in the metro area as far as the police department is concerned. We have to do something about that in order for us to deal with economic development. The quality of life depends on our public safety. And so we need to increase the number of salaries for the police officers, and we need to compensate them more than what the board of commissioners have voted themselves for $25,000 raise. We need to give the police at least a 25% raise to make them comparable to the other cities in DeKalb County and counties in Georgia. So police is our #1 issue that crime in DeKalb County.
Lorraine, thank you.
I believe the 3 major issues that we're facing within the county are public safety, economic development, and home ownership. When you look around our community in terms of the landscape, home ownership in the African American community is the lowest since the Great Depression in 1926. Now, why is that relevant? Because when you have productive homeowners, people that take pride, you have high property values, it is all relevant for economic development. At the end of the day, public safety is extremely important because within our county, we are acting as a fertile training ground for our police officers who, because we are not providing the resources and the salaries that they deserve, actively leave as soon as they are trained. So in order for us to retain them, it's time we look critically at budgets. It's time that we partner and have programs that foster economic development. And through doing those things, I believe that we can make a change within our community, and we must have the right people at the table to make that happen.
I think we have just time for one more question for you. And a question from the audience is about cityhood. And the questioner writes, some of you have been openly against cityhood. And so if you're elected, how do you intend on serving and representing new cities like Stonecrest and Tucker? And we are sitting in one of the new cities. And so we'll address that question now, and we will start with John Colbert.
You have to do what's required. The city of Stonecrest was put on a referendum ballot and it was voted in. So what do we do now? You have to deal with it. One of the things that I bring to the table is being adaptable. And that's what 25 years in corporate America does for you. So we have to come to the table, discuss the issues. Now it's an extra layer or 2 or 3 of government that you have to go through. But if that's what we have to do, we have to be able to negotiate. And I mentioned earlier, this campaign is about allocating. So you have to be able to meet with the different entities at Stonecrest or whoever is the power structure in these municipalities and sit down, come to the table, and hash out a real plan of attack. We have no choice. If it were up to me, I think less government is a better route, but if we have to have more government, just understand that it's gonna take a little bit more time. And if that's what we need, that's what we'll do.
You can go, Lorraine.
Okay. In terms of the cityhood issue, let me begin by saying we live in a democracy and I'm always for the voice of people. I live in the city of Stonecrest. Whether or not I agree with cityhood, I want us to understand that it is not an end to issues, because oftentimes one of the greatest results of cityhood is an increase in taxes. So it is my responsibility as your next commissioner for District 7 to make sure you understand the ramifications of your vote. This is a very important election. And one thing that I've found since I've been out on the campaign trail is oftentimes we don't fully understand the consequences of the vote and our actions. So as we move forward, I'm not going to tell you not to vote for cityhood. I didn't feel good when they said let's have a referendum against cities in the South Side. Everyone else has had the choice, but just understand the consequences of your action, because it doesn't solve problems all in itself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Williams. I've been opposing the city creation of cityhoods in DeKalb County for the last 4 years. The reason why I'm running for county commissioner is because I was the one standing up for a strong county government. So if I was fighting against cityhood, one of the best people to advocate for a strong government is the person who was fighting against cityhood. And so here I am standing here now to make sure that we have somebody who's going to make the county accountable to the people here in DeKalb County. And so I give myself here as a candidate for District 7 commission seat for developing a strong county government here in DeKalb County. It's more than just a vote to vote whether you have cityhood or not. It's about information, having the right information before you have a vote. And so therefore, I wanted to delay the vote for cityhood until the people had enough information to make a sound decision. I want to make DeKalb County the strongest county possible.
Thank you. Larry.
Well, in here, through the whole iterations of cityhoods, we started off with this, the state representatives allowed us to be carved out through population studies for DeKalb County. It's the only county at the time to say if you want to annex, you have to come back before DeKalb County government. We tried to fight that. 2008, the city of Dunwoody came out, and it was something that we tried to fight against, only had 3 votes. But part of this iterations of cityhood, you want to make sure that we understand what's going on and how and the pause have to be done. But we want to make sure that the residents have a voice in saying what they want to do. I believe in unincorporated DeKalb. I believe it is strong. Most of these cities that have got formed, they had to come out of unincorporated DeKalb through our zonings and all that, from Brookhaven, Dunwoody. All of those places grew because unincorporated DeKalb made that happen. And so you cannot disrespect what unincorporated did to make those things happen. And I think we need a pause so we can understand it for all of us to move forward. Otherwise, we can balkanize the whole county and we can be back in the same boat again later.
As far as cityhood is concerned, I think that the people in District 3 should be allowed to vote for cityhood. But as far as you getting a new city, the departments that they want to take over will be sanitation, zoning, parks and recreation. I say, well, we must be weak in that department then as far as the county government. That is the reason I say we need to do more than what we are doing. We don't need, if you can vote for cityhood if you like, and your taxes will go up. But if the commissioners, me, Larry, whoever is in office is doing their job, and we have strong parks and recreation, zoning laws and everything like that, you really don't need cityhood. You just be paying extra money. But the things that they're asking for in cityhood, parks and recreation, we can take care of that now if we would do what we need to do. Right now, we have a golf course, Sugar Creek. It's not being, you can't even use it right now. We have the money to do some things, we're just not getting them done. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. And just to be clear, Larry and Pelton are in the same race, so when you go to vote, you pick one or the other, and then the other three candidates are in the same race in District 7, and the incumbent, Greg Adams, is not here, but so you pick one of those. And we want to thank you all for offering yourself the service and this event. At this time, I want to invite the candidates for the school board, District 6, Lance Chandler, and Dijon Friends. And while they're coming to the table, I just wanted to recognize a couple of elected officials that have joined us this evening. We have Rob Turner, a councilman from the city of Stonecrest. We have Vicki Turner, District 5 school board member, who's with us. I think I saw George Turner holding up the air. Welcome, George, and he's from the city of Stonecrest. Also would like to recognize Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson, the District 5 Commissioner, who's sitting there. And of course, Diana Doma from the city of Stonecrest, Councilwoman. Welcome all. Oh yes, and I think I did see the mayor of Stonecrest, Jason Lowry. Welcome, sir. Okay, we have 3 candidates for the school board because Candice McKinley from District 2 has joined us, and we want to welcome her. I didn't expect her to come, and so we didn't prepare a card for her. And she is in the prime. She's running against the District 2 incumbent Marshall Horson. And he's not here, right? Marshall's not here. But welcome, Candice. Sorry. Okay, and so 2 minutes, opening statement from each of you, and then we'll give a minute to answer questions. And since this is the District 6 seat is an open seat, so we don't have an incumbent. The incumbent did not seek re-election, and so we'll start with alphabetically. So we'll start with Dijon.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Well, my name is Dijon DeKalb, and I'm running for the DeKalb County School District Board of Education District 6. Why am I running? You know, when I was in elementary school and middle school and high school here in DeKalb, a powerful brother by the name of Dr. Ralph Simpson always instilled one thing into my head: to act the way that you want to become, and soon you will become the way you act. I took that message and I ran with it. Because after I graduated from Kennesaw State University with a sociology degree, concentration in criminology, I then opened up a nonprofit organization to give back to our community. I had the opportunity to find out the issues and the needs of our children. And I went to work. I went to work for the last 5 years to make sure that we do better for our kids and our future. Definitely and most importantly because I have a daughter that is in the DeKalb County School District. I have a nephew that is in the DeKalb County School District. So as a proud product of this area, this is my duty and my obligation to proceed to the next level and work for the DeKalb County School District Board of Education so that we can allocate the resources in the budget on a higher than a bigger scale. I taught at Miller Grove High School, human anatomy and physiology. Then I matriculated myself through the DeKalb County School District system by hiring teachers and staff at the same district that I went to school in, and still I stand. I'm DJ DeKalb, and I need your support. I'm running for the DeKalb County School District Board of Education, because I care.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lance Hammonds. I'm running for DeKalb Board of Education District number 6. I want to share something with you first. Nelson Mandela said, the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world is education. I want to use education to change the world because it has helped me. I grew up in the inner city where crime, drugs, violence were a daily part of life. Education has been the key for me. What I want to do is work to make DeKalb the system of choice for quality schools. How we do that? The key to a prosperous community is a community that has academically superior schools with achievement outcomes that rival the top schools in the nation, not just in the metro area, in the nation. We need to look back at history. Why is it important to run for school board? This is the most important office in our community. We have a $1.7 billion budget. This is a place 4 years ago, we came a long way. We were close to being on probation. We got off of that. We had a deficit. The board has done that. We've done a lot of things in the last 8 years. What you're going to hear from me are specific ways that I'm going to show how we can make DeKalb and our school system better. We have an opportunity. What I want to do with you is 4 simple things. Attract and retain the best teachers and staff in our community. Secondly, use our resources properly. Thirdly, we want to make sure that we connect the school board, the community, and parents and teachers together in this thing. Because this is a village, we have to have everybody working on the same page to get this done. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Candace D. McKinley, and I'm running for District 2. District 2 is the North Druid Hills, Cross Keys cluster. Everybody familiar with that area? Okay, so I used to live right by Stonecrest, and my children were shocked when we enrolled in the local public schools, to say the least. And we had to move. And I hate to say that, but there is an equity problem in DeKalb when it comes to our schools. It has been that way for a long time, and I was determined not to move again. I'm in the North Druid Hills area, like I said, and I want to make sure that I'm the voice for all students, not just mine. Not just African American students, not just Latino students, not just Caucasian students, but all students. Never should we have to rely on our zip code to secure an equity seat or have access to quality education in our schools. I'm a product of Gwinnett County Schools. I taught in Atlanta Public Schools. I went to Georgia State and got my teacher's certification, then matriculated to Spelman College with my psychology degree, and then FAMU College of Law for my law degree. So I have all the credentials. I just need some more support to unseat my incumbent. So thank you all for having me here, and I hope that if you're not in my district, you know someone, can tell them to go out and vote early, and vote on May 22nd. Thanks so much.
The DeKalb County, on the question of equity, the DeKalb County School District has a few high-performing schools, but most schools, especially many of those in South DeKalb, are struggling on key indicators on the CCPRI. If you're elected a board member, how would you work with your colleagues to duplicate the successes of the few across the district? And we will start with Lance.
That's a good question. I think the key to improvement in our classrooms are our teachers and the staff. We have to hire and pay top dollar to get the best teachers and staff in our district. We're not there yet. If you want the best, you gotta pay for the best. We gotta work with our parents and the community also as far as engaging with our schools. As NAACP education chair, I put together a community school volunteer program where we went out and we got 150 volunteers. We got them through orientation, background checks, to get into the schools and do the work. I'm the kind of guy, when I see a problem, we'll go put our hands on it and we'll try to fix it. Thank you.
Candidates.
I currently sit on a board, I volunteer on the International Community School Board, which is in North Decatur and the Metlock Park area, if you're not familiar. And there is an issue with retaining leadership. You want the innovative, transformational change in your schools, but you have to have the right leaders who are able to, get the instructional coaches to do the curriculum, and we have to stick to a curriculum that works, first of all. So we really need to look at making sure our leaders, and like ICS, the International Community Schools, we've had 4 principals in the last 5 years. And that's just a testament that we have to help our leaders do what they can in their schools with the staff or get new staff, so that they can make sure that we are getting the statistics that we need so that we can continue to get those innovation and transformative change.
Dijon, the question is, how would you ensure equity across the district if you're elected?
Well, number one, I believe in one DeKalb. And I believe in one DeKalb because I had the opportunity to be a student here in DeKalb County. And I actually seen what was going about the lack of resources in our schools. Now, after I left Redan High School, I wasn't college material. I wasn't college ready. When I had to go to college, I had to go right back down to the remedial classes because of not being prepared. Which means I'm going to advocate for South DeKalb because our children that are coming after us needs the resources, the highly qualified teachers, the mentoring programs, the after-school initiatives, everything to wrap around service so that we can help them pass and increase the ability of becoming a product and a successful citizen here in DeKalb County and in the state of Georgia and in the United States of America.
So this will be the final question, and as you know, the school bus drivers issue was recently in the news, and it's on everybody's minds. The school bus drivers who seem to have been left behind in the district's recent rebound staged a sick out recently, which cost 7 of them their jobs. But as the sick out demonstrated, if students are not in their seats, high-paying teachers and administrators can't do their jobs because there's nobody to teach, right? If elected, would you support better pay and benefits for all categories of district employees? If so, why? And we will start with Candace.
I was just devastated when my children were on the side of the road and I was running to a deposition. I'm a civil rights lawyer, and I believe, I just want to, I'm in the church, but I just cannot believe that we were not able to work with our transportation specialists to get what they need. So yes, I will support, I will work ahead of time and be proactive to bring everybody at the table to find a solution before we ever have to get to that point again. And I'm a product of labor. My mom and my dad were AT&T workers for 40-something years. So I believe in labor. I believe in rights of people. I believe that we should treat people fairly and give them the appropriate wages so we can live. So I'll definitely support that.
When I seen that the sick out on the news, I thought about my daughter. And I'm just gonna be quite honest. Because if my daughter was left on the side of the road for quite an hour or more, then I would have been devastated as well. So that's the only young lady I have that looks just like me. But I say this though. See, my experience in working in human resources about hiring classified and certified staff, we gotta understand one thing. That is not gonna just be the bus drivers. Food services, custodians, and all classified staff. So we have to use this as an example to reach out to all of our employees to give them the proper wages so that they can also be able to take care of our kids. Our kids is the number one issue. Our kids is the number one. Amen. Number one. Then everything else comes after that. I believe I will be supporting that.
The key difference between me and my opponent is, can you hear? Okay, there we go. The key difference between myself and my opponent is, he's talking about what he's gonna do. I've already met with the bus drivers. I met with them when they were working through their problems. I know the 7 people who were fired. I know them, I've talked with them. I want everybody to have a livable wage, and we can do that, we can manage that. My opponent talks about his work in HR. Basically, my opponent is not hiring teachers in the district. That's just not true. So we need to speak truth to power. What I will do is I'll make sure that everybody is treated equitably in our system. They will make a living wage, and they will make top dollar in our district so we can attract the best to teach the best children in our community. That's how we do it.
I just want to clarify some things.
As long as we give it extra time.
The question was, what are we going to do, and are we going to support these things, right? Not to go ahead and bash the other candidate or whatever, right? But what I want to say. Thank everyone.
It is what a TI is.
At this time, we would like to welcome the candidate for the DeKalb Superior Court bench to the stage. I think it's ready to go. For the DeKalb Superior Court, it's 2 different races. So we have Courtney Johnson and Jeanette Hopewell sitting immediately right here together. And while they're taking their seats, we wanted to welcome Kirby Clemens, Superior Court Judge, DeKalb County District 7. Okay, I thought it was another. And so, we're missing two candidates, Roderick Bridges, and Gina Bernard. Gina here? No. Okay, so if they arrive in the process of the time, we will allow them to join the panel. Remember, if you have questions for the judge's candidate, just raise your hands, and a volunteer will guide you the part to your question. And so there are two races sitting at the table. We took them all together because they're all running to the Superior Court. And so for the first race on the podium is the seat to succeed Courtney Johnson. And Courtney Johnson, the incumbent, is running for re-election, and her challenger is Jenna Hopewell. And then the second set of candidates are running to succeed Judge Horsey, who is retiring, and so that's an open seat, and we have 6 candidates in that race. And so I just want you to understand the demarcation, even though we have them all together. And so each of you will have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves, and then we'll have a minute after that to answer questions. And we will start with the incumbent for Division 1, Courtney Johnson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Courtney Johnson, and I am your Chief Superior Court Judge here in DeKalb County. I preside over Division 1, and I hear criminal and civil cases. I have been a judge for 8 years, and I also preside in our DeKalb County Drug Court, which is a 2-year judicially supervised program for defendants whose criminal behavior is driven by addiction. I began my career as an advocate for victims of domestic violence in the DeKalb County Solicitor General's office, and thereafter became an assistant solicitor prosecuting misdemeanor criminal cases. I also served as an assistant district attorney in the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office prior to taking the bench. And I have served the citizens of this county for the last 17 years as a judge and as a former prosecutor. And I ask for your support and your vote. I grew up here in DeKalb County. I want to continue to serve the citizens of this county. I went to Georgetown University for my undergraduate degree, and I went to law school at Emory University School of Law. I am proud to say that I preside over a very efficient courtroom. Each of the judges of the DeKalb County Superior Court hear close to 1,000 cases a year. And I am proud to say again that I preside over a very efficient courtroom. I have a staff who is courteous and responsive, especially to a lot of the pro se litigants that come before the DeKalb County Superior Court. So I ask for your support and your vote on May 22nd, and you may also vote early as of April 30th. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. I am a resident of DeKalb County, lifelong. I got my undergraduate degree from Notre Dame, and I got my law degree from Catholic University. I practiced law for more than 30 years in this county. I've had the pleasure of serving DeKalb County as a staff attorney. I've also served as a judge in the magistrate court, in the juvenile court, and in the recorder's court. And during my term as a magistrate for 7 years, I set my special designation as a Superior Court judge. My roots in this county are strong and my commitment is strong. I am one of the co-founders of the DeKalb Lawyers Association. I served as its president, and I also currently sit on its executive board. I'm a life member of the NAACP, and I served as a volunteer legal advisor for that organization for a number of years. And I tell you all of these things so that you'll understand that I'm qualified for this job. Now, I am seeking to replace Courtney Johnson because I think DeKalb deserves a judge who is competent, who is fair and impartial, and who is respectful to everyone who appears in that court. I think DeKalb deserves better than to have a judge whose record includes being investigated by the Judicial Qualifications Commission for forcing an attorney, for refusing a bathroom break for an attorney and forcing her to urinate on herself in court. Deserve better than to have a judge whose record includes costing the citizens of DeKalb County $1.1 million when her decision in the Burrell Ellis case was overturned because of judicial error. I think we deserve better than to have a judge that would have our own Ambassador Young testify that he had been before some of the meanest and toughest judges in this country, but had never been so disrespected as he had in her courtroom. And if you agree that we deserve better, then I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Okay, and now we're doing Division 7. And we're starting with Tunde. Could you please hold the mic to your mouth? People in the back are having difficulty hearing.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Pastor Lomax and First Afrikan. My name is Tunde Akinyele. I am the candidate who you may have to figure out how to pronounce my name, but you won't have to figure out my qualifications. When I came to church today, though, I was told that there are so many Tundes in church here, so I feel right at home. Briefly, I've been in the country for about 35 years, originally from Nigeria, 20 years in DeKalb County, 18 of those years with the court system in DeKalb. I started out in the solicitor's office. I moved up to the DA's office in 2003, and I worked there for 10 years. I tried a whole host of very, very serious cases. As a matter of fact, tonight I was going through my caseload, and I was just going after murder versus murder and after murder. I tried a whole host of them. I kept a tab of my caseload for a few years, and I realized that I actually handled over 10,000 cases conservatively in the 13 years that I was a prosecutor, because my caseload was anywhere from 80 to 100 cases a year. Okay? A month, over 13 years. So my experience has led me to the conclusion that I can bring my talent, my experience, my qualifications to the bench. When I walked in today, a gentleman asked me, what was your win-lose record as a prosecutor? And I said, well, a prosecutor that has such a record has a problem, because that is something that you should never think about as a prosecutor. You should always look at justice. That is the same philosophy that I will bring to the bench. My job is to be the impartial referee. I've played the sport. It's not a sport, it's not a game, but just like a sport, you play it, you've studied it, and I can make the right calls. And when I am wrong, I will also admit that I am wrong. Tunde Akinyele, tundeforjudge.com. Thank you.
Lakeisha.
Good evening. My name is Letitia Deere Jackson, and I am running to succeed Judge Corsi, who is retiring after 35 years. I am running on the platform of fair justice and experience you can trust, and there's a two-pronged test, and what that means is I want to make a difference and I want to impact justice. I will make a difference with my experience as a proud graduate of Spelman College and as Georgia State University College of Law, as an 11-year municipal court judge, as the first female to sit in the city of Stone Mountain's history and still sitting there today, as the first female chief judge in the city of Lithonia, as the only candidate to sit in 3 cities over 2 counties. I also sit in East Point, as the only judge that has sat in both state and superior court, sitting for the judges that you've elected, as a 17-year attorney who has practiced and been a former prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, family law attorney, certified guardian ad litem. I want to bring that experience and make a difference on the court by modernizing our court, by using technology. I am also a current civil litigator representing Grady and Marta, as well as the city of Atlanta and Kaiser. What I want to do is use technology for all non-criminal cases. I want to implement case management orders for all cases that are serious felonies as well as for your non-civil, so that way each and every person that comes before the court knows when they are coming to court. I also want to use my experience as I'm twice appointed to the Supreme Court's Committee of Access and Fairness, Public Trust and Public Confidence to ensure that our courtrooms are kept open and that the public knows that they can come to the court. I invite you to come see what my judicial philosophy is. Any Wednesday evening at 5 p.m. in the city of Stone Mountain, you can see me, and that's the same invitation I will give to you as your next Superior Court judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this forum. Thank you for having me out. My name is Nicholas Smith. I am another candidate for Superior Court Judge. I am running in this race because I am frustrated. I am frustrated with where DeKalb Superior Court is. Our county has grown significantly over the past 20 years, and judges are continually doing things like it used to be done, and that's not going to cut it. I'm fortunate enough to practice in a lot of different counties and different districts, and I see judges who are being creative, who are being proactive, and are tackling these dockets that are just becoming more and more burdened with more and more cases because we have more people, we have more businesses. I talk to attorneys and they say, I'm not practicing in DeKalb anymore. I'm not taking cases in DeKalb because it's too unpredictable and it's too disorganized. That is a problem. We are losing access to justice when we have attorneys who will take a case in Fulton but won't take a case in our own county. And when people and businesses start learning that DeKalb, they're not going to get a fair shake in DeKalb, they can't afford to be sued here, they may start leaving as well. That should be a concern. I'm very different than my other candidates. I have mostly civil and business litigation background. I'm a native of DeKalb County. After law school at Georgia State, I did serve as a staff attorney at the U.S. Court of Appeals. We handled all the criminal appeals for Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. And since then, I have devoted my practice to civil and business issues. And Superior Court judges wear those hats. They oversee foreclosure confirmation hearings. They oversee property disputes, neighbor disputes, complex business issues. And I'm running because we lack that diversity on the bench. I feel we need it. I feel we need to move in a different direction. I'd appreciate your support. I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Or good evening, I should say. And thank you all for hosting this event. I am Kirby Clements Jr., and I am running for also Division 7 of the DeKalb Superior Court. Briefly about me, I am also a former prosecutor. However, there's a little bit of a difference. I'm admitted to practice law in Georgia, New York, and the District of Columbia. I've served as a senior prosecutor in the Fulton County DA's office, arguing cases before the Court of Appeals and the Georgia Supreme Court. I've also practiced law in the Brooklyn DA's office, one of the largest prosecutor offices in the country, where I was in sex crimes and special victims, and then rose to be a first deputy bureau chief in charge of a unit that handled all your school-related crimes and juveniles charged as adults. In addition, I have a consumer law practice. I represent consumers in various disputes, personal injury. I practice law with my sister. And I've also appeared in federal court. And I've also been a legal analyst for about 20 years on television. I've been appearing on CNN, Court TV, MSNBC, Montel, and the like, because they want me on for my legal opinions on those cases. I'm running on 3 positions: respect, reason, and fairness. I think that there's a growing sentiment that the law doesn't respect people, so people are losing respect for the law. I want to restore that, number 1. Number 2, reason. Decisions that a judge makes has to be based on reason and not emotion, not the judge's personal preferences. And then lastly, fairness. I don't mean that, quote, I'll be fair, but you know it really wasn't fair kind of fairness. I mean real fairness. I just came today from court where at the end of the case, the judge called the prosecutors up. He said, okay, angels approach. I'm thinking, you just said angels to the prosecutor. What's going on? How are you fair? Also, I did not win that hearing, if you know that. But my website is electkirbyjr.com. Reason, respect, and fairness. A judge has to have those 3 attributes. Those are the things that I bring. I'm also grateful that my wife of 26 years is here. She's a podiatrist in DeKalb. So we both have our businesses here, put our kids in school here. We are DeKalb residents.
Thank you. This is a quick question. Do you support alternative sentencing for nonviolent offenders? And if you were elected, would you implement this? And for Courtney, who's been in office, are you embracing alternative sentences for nonviolent offenders? And we'll start with Jeanette.
I do support alternative sentencing. I think that we cannot make our jails human warehouses. We have to, there are certain people that cannot function in society. Those people need to be removed from society. But there are other people who, for whatever reason, whatever types of offenses that are not violent, we need to look at how we can place those people in society in a functional way. We want them to pay their debt to society, but we have to partner. Look at probation, pretrial diversion, all those types of things that you can look at the individual and find a way for them to pay their debt to society, but also help them in moving forward and avoid creating the human warehouse that we do when we jail everybody that we can.
Tunde.
Yes, I absolutely support alternative sentences. As a matter of fact, while I was in the prosecutor's office, I wrote an article in 2008 entitled Diversion, an Alternative to Prosecution. It was published in a journal called The Scales of Justice back then. When I started out in the DA's office, J. Tom Morgan was a DA then, and he told us that as long as I don't show up on the 5 o'clock news, use your common sense, okay? Learn how to think properly. There are a lot of cases that do not merit prison time, jail time, or even a sentence. We can resolve it without that. That is what I've always done. And currently, as a judge, I sit in state court as by designation. I participate in the DUI court. As a matter of fact, being that I'm one of the 2 judges that speak Spanish in the entire DeKalb County courthouse, I participate specifically with the Spanish DUI court in addition to the regular DUI court. So I definitely support alternative sentences. Thank you.
As a former prosecutor, I was assigned to the diversion program before there was a formal program to help oversee that. As the president of the Council of Municipal Court Judges, I have worked with the Criminal Justice Reform Council, advancing initiatives such as the alternative sentencing and the bail reform, which the governor is signing into legislation. As well as I am the only candidate that has started their own diversion program in the courtroom where they reside. I started a diversion program there because I was seeing a lot of offenders coming with marijuana charges and other small level offenses, and I recognized that they did not need to have convictions unnecessarily at their young age. So yes, I do support alternative sentencing, and if I'm elected as your next Superior Court judge, the same things that I've done from when I started my career as a prosecutor and what I'm doing now, I will continue to do.
Amen.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of a no-brainer to me. We need to ensure that people are productive citizens of society, and you're not going to do that by having to go sit in jail or maybe even pay a fine that is equal to or greater than the rent you have to pay. So we need to be very mindful of how punishment affects people's lives. But I think in addition to nonviolent offenses, Judge Sean LaGrua over in Fulton Superior Court talks about identifying violent offenders versus violent people who've committed violent offenses. There are a lot of kids and first-time offenders who maybe they used a gun and did something. Do they have to pay for what they've done? Yes, they do. But are they just starting down that track and the wrong path and can have their life turned around? Absolutely. She has a program like that. I would like to implement a similar program in DeKalb County.
Kirby.
I absolutely do support alternative sentencing, and matters. When I was in Brooklyn, we used to do that. We had a drug treatment alternative to prison where we helped people who had drug problems to get from being tax problems to taxpayers. And I think it's important to do that. But the thing that I look at is not only are we all supporting alternative sentencing, but I think as a judge, we need to get out into the community and catch people before they get into the system. Because that's the problem. When you have that arrest on your record, it can change your life in ways you didn't anticipate. We gotta let people know that there are other choices out there. Not gonna scare everybody straight. Sometimes you gotta give people keys to success. And I think as judges, people who are risen to the height of our profession, the fact that we're up here, whether we win or not, we're up here. We can go to these young people and say, let me show you a way to get there so that maybe you don't even take that turn and you never come before me. Because the person I would rather see is the person that says, I almost came to your courtroom, but I didn't. As opposed to the guy say, hey, thank you for the break you gave me, thank you for the alternative program. That's fine. But I would much rather not see them in the first place.
And Courtney, you've been in office for 8 years. Have you embraced all of this?
As I said, I became involved with the drug court shortly after I took the bench 7 years ago. In DeKalb County, we have what's called the Accountability Court Program. And since I'm taking the bench, I have helped in creating additional accountability courts within that program, including the Mental Health Court and the Veterans Court. Now, we all understand that you cannot incarcerate away mental illness or drug addiction, and that is why I first became involved with the drug court. And I can tell you that it has been one of the most rewarding parts of my job since I've taken the bench. Seeing individuals benefit from the treatment, the job skills, the life skills that they teach in the drug court program, and instead of just sending folks off to prison. And that is what has been the most rewarding part of my involvement in the program and what I hope to continue to do if I'm reelected. Again, the drug court program has changed lives. We have had individuals who have never had jobs before.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. And so this will be our final question for the panel. I have a handful of questions, and I want to say too that for all the other races that went ahead before, and so what we'll try to do is get answers to these questions, and you should pick up your another shameless plug, you should pick up your election section in CrossRoadsNews on May 12th, because we'll get answers from the candidate. And so this is the final question for the Superior Court candidate. Judicial temperament we're told, is a key characteristic of a judge. The American Bar Association defines it as a judge who exhibits compassion, decisiveness, open-mindedness, sensitivity, courtesy, patience, freedom from bias, and commitment to equal justice. So please tell us, how do you deal with difficult people, including judges, peers, lawyers, clients, litigants, and people who come into your courtroom and other members of the public? And Courtney, when it's your turn to answer this question, I have about 3-4 questions from the audience, and this might be your opportunity to address the Keene incident and the Earl Ellis case that your opponent brought up earlier. The voters have not heard directly from you about it, so they want to know what you have to say on that. And so right now we will start with the teacher, I think. Is that where I am? Did I skip over you on this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll start with you about how do you deal with difficult, do you have the temperament to be a judge, and how do you deal with difficult people who come into your courtroom?
Well, I believe I do. As a matter of fact, when we had a DeKalb Lawyers Association meeting this week, I would tell folks that over the years, when I would go to the jail or listen to the folks there, they had a nickname for me. They called me the African dude, and they would say that is a real cool dude, because I was always calm in everything I handled. Obviously, there are occasions that you will have difficult folks that come before you. My job is to judge, not be judgmental. Okay, I do not want to prejudge anybody that comes before me. We all come to court with sometimes preconceived notions and different issues that are affecting us, and it is up to us to listen and not think that everyone came on a level playing field the day they walked into your courtroom. So I definitely will listen. I've always done so in the years that I've sat as a judge, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Tisha, do you have the temperament to be a judge?
To answer the question, yes, I have the temperament to be a judge. What I have learned as a judge for the last 11 years in municipal court, state court, and superior court is people just want to be heard. And what I allow them to do is to express themselves within the confines of the law, within their closing statements, as well as if they just, even if they're not following the complete process when I deal with the pro se litigants, is to allow them to be heard. And when they become disrespectful, I redirect them. When I have younger offenders that come before me, what I do is I take the time to implement into them and help them redirect them so that they understand why they're there and what they can do to move forward past the situation that they are here from. I always treat people with fairness, respect, and as I said, you can always come see me at municipal court in Stone Mountain at 5 p.m. on Wednesdays. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicholas?
I believe that I do have the temperament. In this job, you see people at their worst. And a lot of people think that you have a magic wand as an attorney, and you don't. And you have to learn to develop compassion. And just by letting people express themselves and by openly listening to them, looking at them directly, really listening to them, that diffuses anger and tension. It's actually a hostage negotiation this long people talk. So I think I do have the temperament. I think it's important to hear people, to not be biased, to be objective, and to be open-minded. Thank you.
Kirby?
Thank you. I've been practicing law 28 years, and the one thing that you can say about me is that I definitely have the temperament to be a judge. I want you to be heard, because I found that even if you're pursuing a judgeship, you go in there with the best of intentions in any area, but ultimately time wears you down, and you ultimately lose that drive, that desire to be gentle when you just start moving. That's not me. 28 years, I want you to be heard, because people want to know that they've been heard. They want to know that the process is trustworthy. They don't have to win. They just got to have confidence that they were treated fairly. And that's the thing that I bring, is I want to hear what you have to say. Even if I have to rule against you, understand you're going to be heard. I'm going to make sure I understand. I'm not going to just put words in your mouth. I'll let you put words in my ears. Let me hear them. And then I'll make a decision so that you can have confidence in the process, because that's the thing that I think will make people, that will take some of the fire out of people, having confidence in the process. So do I have the temperament? In 28 years, that's the one thing people always say about me. You got the patience of Job, and I do.
Thank you. Courtney?
I want to say that I have always treated everyone who has appeared before me with fairness, dignity, and respect. I do have the temperament to do this job. I have been doing this job for the last 8 years, and my opponent has chosen to focus on one case that came before me. This incident that she keeps bringing up about an individual not being given a restroom break, thank you for the opportunity to address it, because I want to say that I have never and I would never deny anyone a restroom break or any break whatsoever for any reason. This incident occurred in my courtroom. This individual filed a complaint with the JQC. They conducted an investigation. The investigation was closed and no further action was taken. So my opponent continues to bring up this incident as though she was there and she knows what happened, and she does not. And I am telling you that what she is saying happened is not true. It absolutely is not true, and it did not happen. I also want to take the opportunity. Well, you asked me about Carl Ellis case.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll allow it.
Again, my opponent continues to bring up one case. As I said, as a Superior Court judge, I hear close to 1,000 cases a year, which means that over the course of my 8-year career, I have heard over 8,000 cases. And my opponent is focusing on one case. The process in our judicial system, in our criminal justice system, is that juries make decisions. As the judge, I don't decide what cases go forward. I don't decide who is indicted and what charges are brought against an individual. My job as a judge is to make rulings based on my best understanding of the law. And that is what I did in that case, and that is what I do in every case that comes before me. It is also part of our process that the appellate courts have the opportunity to review my decisions. And in that case, the appellate court determined that I made a procedural error. But what they did not say was that the jury got it wrong. What they said was that the jury found that there was sufficient evidence to return the verdict that they did. And I stand by the fact that that case should have gone to trial and should have gone before a jury. Because again, as a judge, it's not my job to determine what the facts are in a case. That's the jury's decision. And I stand by the fact that that case should have gone forward and it should have been heard by a jury.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you so much. Jeanette.
Well, I suppose I should answer your question.
Do you recommend to be a judge?
I do have a judicial temperament. I start with the basic rule, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. When people come into the court, they all have problems. That's why they're there. They have problems. And I understand that you have to listen, you have to be compassionate, and you have to make them understand that they are going to get a fair trial, a fair hearing, whatever, in your court. Now, I once served as a magistrate court, and what I did as a magistrate was I spoke directly to people who came into me when they had a problem. They were victims, they were defendants. I dealt directly with them. I know how to deal with people because my training, my upbringing has taught me to respect everyone, and that is what I've done in my private practice, that is what I do in my life, and that is what I have brought to the bench.
Thank you. I didn't miss anyone, did I? Well, thank you all so much. Could you please give them a big round of applause? Don't leave. You're going to hear from the governor's candidate right next. So everybody get up, take a stretch. I know it's a long evening, but don't go, please. Right now, we'd like to welcome Stacey Evans to the podium.
She took Uber home. She Ubered home.
Okay, we're ready to start this portion of the. I just wanted to say that we had regrets from the other Democratic candidate for governor, Stacey Abrams. She had a conflict and is unable to join us this evening, but Stacey Evans is here and she'll get to answer the questions. And so you have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, and then we'll have some questions for you. And I think you came in a little late, so I just wanted to explain. Our timekeeper is sitting right here. At 30 seconds, she'll raise the powder for 30 seconds, meaning you have 30 seconds left. Then she'll give you a 0. And then if you still don't stop, you ring the bell. And then after that, it's whatever. So thank you so much for coming. And so 2 minutes for your opening.
Thank you so much. I'll try to behave so you don't have to ring the bell at me. Good evening, everyone. I'm Stacey Evans, and I am working hard to be your next governor. Let me first thank First Afrikan Church and CrossRoads for hosting this opportunity tonight. It's great to be back. I had the honor, privilege, and pleasure of worshiping here a month or so ago, and it's great to be back. I am here running for governor, but I think if anybody had started writing the Stacey Evans story some time ago, I don't know that folks would have thought to put in the chapter where I'm running around the state asking for votes for governor, because where I started in life did not naturally lend itself to me ending up here. I grew up in a really small town up in the northwest corner of the state, born to a single teenage mother. She was only 17 years old when she had me. She didn't finish high school. My birth father didn't stick around. As you might imagine, it was rough growing up. We struggled. We lived in about 16 different homes by the time I was 18 years old. I remember many times coming home and finding that our lights had been turned out or our water wasn't on because we simply couldn't pay the bills. And one time when I was about 12, I was getting ready for school, and I happened to look out the back window and saw one of my stepfathers dragging my mom through the backyard, beating her up. And I called the police for help, but the police told me that they knew him and that they didn't think he hurt a fly. So they didn't come and help us that day. And that moment stuck out to me and taught me how much it matters who's in power and what people can do with power. But luckily, I saw the other side, and I saw good Democratic leadership that created the Hope Scholarship that allowed me to go to college, the first in my family to go to college, led to me being able to go to law school, which is where I met my husband, Andrew. We've been married coming up on 14 years. We have a beautiful, energetic, very smart daughter named Ashley, who's 6. And I wouldn't have my family if it wasn't for Hope. I never would have been able to become an attorney and stand up and give a voice to the voiceless in their fight for justice. And I never could have served in the state legislature to work to bring hope to more families that were just like mine and needed a little help to help themselves. And I'm glad to be here today to ask for your vote to be your next governor. Thank you.
So we want to welcome you again to South DeKalb County. And South DeKalb County, which is uniquely placed with close access to major interstate I-20 and 285. We have lots of vacant lands and buildings, and we're just 15 minutes from the airport. But we've not participated in the economic boom that is going on around, like say in Alpharetta and other Johns Creek and other parts of Metro Atlanta. Now, if you're elected governor, can we rely on your coattails to reap some of the major corporate and industrial relocations that are coming to the state?
Absolutely. And I want all Georgia families to have access to hope and opportunity. And that just doesn't mean scholarships and grants to go to college and technical college. It means access to good paying jobs. It means access to start and grow your own small business if that's what you desire to do. It means hope and access to good transportation. That means that we have a coordinated regional mass transit system that has stops all throughout Metro Atlanta and doesn't leave out South DeKalb. That's very important. We right now have less than 1% of state contracts that are going to minority-owned firms. And it's going to take good, strong, determined leadership from the governor's office to change that. And I'm committed to doing that because I want no corner of the state, no area of Metro Atlanta left out of the growth of this state, because there's a lot that's going right in this state, but it's not working for all of us. And I want to make sure that those opportunities are available for all of us, because that's the kind of state I want to live in. I'm just going to stay standing up since I'm the only one taking questions.
Well, you talk about hope a lot in your commercials on TV. And as you know, hope has become a broken dream for many of the students that it was originally intended for, African Americans and economically challenged families. And these days, they don't qualify for hope anymore. So how will you restore hope both figuratively and literally if you're elected governor?
Thank you. It is of paramount importance. And I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for hope. And hope was changed in 2011, my first legislative session. And by changed, I mean it was gutted. And what we did was we started using an SAT score to decide who would get a full tuition Hope Scholarship at 1,200. I didn't have that. There are a lot of counties in the state where not a single student had a 1,200 on the SAT. Changing the criteria for the Hope Scholarship led to 97% of African American high school students becoming ineligible. Changes to the Hope Grant led to 40,000 students leaving our technical colleges. That was nearly a quarter of the student body population. I was proud to stand and fight against those cuts because they were wrong. My opponent in this Democratic primary for governor co-authored those cuts and stood with Republicans to make it happen. I want to restore Hope's original promise. Tuition-free technical college across the board, regardless of your grades, just like it used to be. Secondly, restoring the original promise that if you have a B, you will be able to go to any four-year public college or university tuition-free. It's that important for the future of our economy and the health of all of our children across the state.
In my earlier question about participating in the economic growth of the state, you kind of diverted the question to talk about what you do for small business. But I still would like to know, what would you do for an area like this that is uniquely placed, that have all the attributes that should be attracting corporate relocations, industrial relocations that we see going to every other part of the state, but not here, even though we have the vacant land, we have the interstate connections, we're close to the airport. Why isn't it that we're not attracting a BMW or a Benz, any of those companies? Why aren't they coming here? And what will you do to ensure that we reap in that if you become governor?
Absolutely. Well, I will work directly with your local, county, and city elected officials with our economic development department, that when we are hosting folks that are looking for the next place to put their plant, that we deliberately visit South DeKalb. I will bring them here personally, and I will make sure that the transportation options, including transit, are here as well, so that folks will already want to look here before they look elsewhere. But it takes deliberate action to do anything, and it's the small things like saying, let me show you this area that has been overlooked for no good reason, and let me take you here and show you not only that there is this land, not only that there is a county full of skilled, educated folks that are ready to take these jobs, and let me show you firsthand what we can do. I will be the governor that is that deliberate in working directly with our economic development folks and your local elected officials to make sure that the options here are not overlooked.
And you heard it here, when we're going to hold her accountable.
Yes.
Many Georgians are uninsured because the state of Georgia has never expanded Medicaid. What are your plans to make healthcare more readily available to more people and also small business owners who are challenged in finding healthcare for themselves? I'm a business owner, and also for their employees.
We've got to have more Georgians with the assurance of insurance, and the first thing we've got to do is expand Medicaid. We could immediately cover 500,000 Georgians with health insurance. We could grow 50,000 jobs and really boost our economic development opportunities with this one simple action, and that is a top priority for me as governor. The second thing that we have to do to make sure we're covering more Georgians with insurance is in the practice in this state of employee misclassification, where companies call their workers independent contractors, but really they're employees. And if they were classified correctly as employees, they'd be able to buy into benefit packages, including health insurance. The third thing that we have to do is root out the fraud, the waste, and abuse that's in the system and keeps costs too high for all of us. I spent 4 years of my private law practice fighting a whistleblower Medicare fraud case, where I represented a brave doctor and a nurse who exposed allegations of fraud, waste, and abuse in a national dialysis chain. The government declined to pursue that case, so my firm took it forward as private counsel, and we recovered over $300 million for taxpayers. I'll bring that to the governor's office to keep our costs down here in Georgia.
What is your vision for Georgia if you become governor?
My vision for Georgia is a place where all families and all kids growing up across this state have the opportunity to be great and to live out their God-given potential. I was given an opportunity through the scholarship program, but that window of opportunity was closing for me, and I didn't realize the changes that were going to come in 2011. And if I graduated high school now, I no longer qualify, and the life that I live would not be possible. I will go into that governor's office every day realizing that. And I want to make sure that the doors of opportunity remain wide, not just for higher education, but for quality K through 12, for universal pre-K, for healthcare access, for job access for all of us. Good paying, dependable jobs that pay a good living wage. That's my vision of opportunity for this state.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. 30 seconds for closing. Sure.
I'm running, so I'll take any second I can have, right? Thank you for having this forum. Thank you for these questions and an opportunity to share. I am running to bring hope and opportunity to Georgia families. Hope grants and scholarships, restoring the original promise of hope. Hope for good jobs that pay good wages. Hope that if you want to start or grow a small business, you get supported in that dream, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, and no matter who you know. Hope that everybody will be able to go see a doctor when they're sick, and hope that our state will remain one that is open for business and closed for hate so that we can continue to attract good job opportunities, and hope that no matter where you live, you will be able to drop off your son or daughter at school and know that they're getting an education that lives up to their promise. We need to support our teachers. I want to put us in the top 10 of teacher pay in the country. I want our teachers to be able to focus on teaching and our kids to be able to focus on learning, to take away those distractions and problems that are keeping us from focusing in the classroom. Like if kids are coming to school and they're hungry, without eyeglasses or hearing aids, we need to invest in those wraparound services that take care of those issues for kids so that they can focus on learning. And when we do that, I know we'll have a great Georgia and we'll be able to bring back hope. Thank you again for having me.
At this time, please welcome our moderator for the next segment, Ms. Deli Smith from the First African Social Action Committee. I deserve to sit, right?
Good evening, everyone. How we doing? We've gotten some excellent information so far tonight and learned a lot about the candidates who are vying to represent us. And could we just give Jennifer a round of applause? It really is great for democracy when we have a lot of people who want to participate in the process. So I know that it can be challenging for us to make the time, but I thank you for all of you who have done that and who are really taking seriously your responsibility as citizens to learn about the candidates so that you can cast a ballot in the best interest of your family and your community. So at this point, we have a couple of more races to cover, and they are our state races for State House and State Senate. And we would like to first call up the candidates who are running for the State House. If you come join us on stage. So we have 5 different districts who are up for re-election. That would be District 83. And could we have the candidates who are running in District 83 to please raise their hands? That would be Howard Mosby, the incumbent, and Becky Evans. Thank you. And it looks like Howard Mosby is not with us this evening. Oh, he's not well. Thank you, Representative Stevenson. District 86, the incumbent is Michelle Henson. And the challenger is Jocelyn O'Neill. District 87, thank you. The incumbent is Ernest Coach Williams. And the challenger is Viola Davis. District 90 is Representative Pam Stephen is the incumbent. Stevenson, I'm sorry, I know your name. And the challenger is Gregory Shealy. And finally, District 94, the incumbent is Karen Bennett, and the challenger is Dean Hurd. So I'd like to start right at the end here with Mr. Hurd. If you could start and take 2 minutes to introduce yourselves, of course, paying attention to our time.
I'm LB. Well, can you hear me?
Now, I'm Dean Hurd, and you asked me why I'm running for this job. I'm running for this job because many of my neighbors, colleagues, and friends, who grew up in this community, feel that current elected leadership is absent from our concerns. Not just disconnected, but absent. I'm running for this job because the good people of this community and district needs visionary direction, accountability, and strong leadership. I'm running for this job to bring new energy to this job and visible results home to our people. I'm not running against anyone in particular. I'm running because there's been a failure in our community. I'm running a campaign against complacency. And I promise you that if you give me this opportunity, I will make sure that I take the vision and rights of the people to the policy-making floor. And I promise you, if you give me that opportunity, I'll earn the rest. This is Dean Hurd, House District 94, and I approve this message.
Representative Stevenson.
Good evening. My name is Pam Stevenson, and I am running for re-election. Not me running, I'm running because I want to be the voice of the people that we have in our community. It is important to me that we don't just think about who goes to school, when to go to school, and how to go to school. It's important for me that families are together. It's also important for me, I grew up in Detroit, East Side, they say. When I was 14, I was shot. So for me, being an attorney makes me know that the criminal justice system in our state needs a repair. And it means to me that we need to look at mandatory minimums, we need to look at how we treat people, we need to look at the bail, we need to look at who is administering those kinds of things. I'm a social worker. My undergraduate degree was psychology and sociology. I have 2 masters. One is qualified, what we call qualified needs on how people put out government. I am a recipient of Harvard in terms of the JFK School of how we move forward in municipalities. But more than that, it's not just going to school, it's taking what you learn and then give it to the people, because that's what's important. I'm not gonna sit here or stand here without saying to people, we are here for you. It is not about me, it's about what I can give to the communities, to the schools, and to the people that need us. And when you need it, if we're not there because we say we don't care and we're frustrated, makes no sense. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Pam Stevenson, and I love DeKalb County.
Good evening. My name is Greg Shealy. I'm running for state representative of District 90. I'm an entrepreneur, builder by trade with a passion for education. A little bit about me. I am a 20-year resident of DeKalb County. I'm a graduate of Georgia State University in education. I have a master's degree in biophysics from Illinois State University, and I have a PhD in community health from Southern Mississippi. My platform is business, education, and community. I live, breathe business, education, and community. One of the things I always said in DeKalb County, there's a lot of people in government that come up with ideas and things to do for our community. And on the other hand, there's people who actually do those things. I'm one of those people who actually do those things. I've been in business for 14 years, 2 months, and 26 days. Since that time, our company has completed over 900 community development jobs. We've worked all over the county. And before that, I was an educator. So I've been on both sides. I've worked in the government, in the DeKalb County government, and I've been an entrepreneur. So I've seen both sides. One of the things that I'm running for is the voice of the community. Since I've been in DeKalb County, I've been hearing things that what our legislators want to do and their agenda, but we spend little time of finding out what the people want. And I want to be the advocate for the people. I want to champion your cause. So if that's something that you want to do, please, on May 22nd, please remember the name Greg Shilling. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Viola Davis, and I'm running for State Representative, House District 87. It is your vote that will hire and fire elected officials. It is your tax money that will pay them and also provide money for budgets. So I'm standing here with a humble spirit to say to you that I am ready to be your new employee. See, my talent, if you look at my resume, is that I have been serving as a community activist and community missionary for over 15, 20 years. We have, through our coalition, took 10 landfills down to 2 to 3. We have saved our accreditation. We have moved forward so that there would be a moratorium for those of you who have problems with your water bill. But see, there's only so much I can do, or we can do as community missionaries and activists. The real problems we have to address as people in that gold dome. See, explain to me why we continue to pay over $100 million out of DeKalb County education funding. Why we don't have Marta going down to Stonecrest when we've been paying that tax for over 30 years? Why is it that in our school system, even though we are paying over $100 million, our kids roast in the summer and freeze in the winter? I am a public servant. See, as a soldier and a veteran, I serve my country. As a critical care nurse, I serve my patients. As a community activist and a missionary, I serve my God. And I'm saying to you, as your state representative, I will serve the taxpayers and voters. I will serve you, my employers.
Good evening. I am State Representative Ernest Coach William. I'm proud to be your state representative for District 87. I've served you for 16 years, and I wish to serve you again. I ask for your vote. I even ask for your support. I'm a member of several different organizations, member of the National Council of Negro Women, life member, NAACP, AARP, which I see nobody in here but me. Okay, right. Now, you know, we hear things about you can get this done or that done. I believe in local legislation, but you cannot get anything done when you have a body that is there to make sure everything that should be on the local level is done on a general level. That means that everybody in the state get a chance to vote on your local legislation. That is not fair, and that's not the way things should be done. I ask again for your support. I ask also for you to make sure that you look at your candidates, because there are people that are still drinking that Jim Jones juice. So be careful who you elect. I ask again that you support Ernest Coach Williams, State Representative for District 87. one more time, that will give me 9.
Good evening. Jocelyn O'Neill. I am a community activist. I'm also retired from the DeKalb County School System as a media clerk for 15 years. I've been working in my community for many, many years before I even had a title. I've always been present. I've helped get broken poles taken down, wires cleaned up. I've also reported things that are going on in the community that have made a drastic difference in how we live. Now, what I want to say too, since I'm on this journey, I have a great record of completing things. I institute and I resolve those things for my community. The main thing that I want to see happen as I come into this position, this seat, is that I stay connected, not with just the neighbors, but with my commissioners, and just about every department in DeKalb County government. They know me because if there's an issue that needs to be resolved with them, I take it on and I resolve it. My incumbent, I have a list here of the pathetic attendance during the General Assembly time. Look, it's not a slam, it's a fact. The no votes, the excuses, it's ridiculous. 2016 to 2018, 2017, I stopped at the bill 430, and at that time, she had 34 absences and 30 no votes. It's ridiculous, but I'm the person. I'm active, I'm in the community, and I will work hard for you. Jocelyn O'Neill.
Good evening, South DeKalb. I'm so glad to be here at First Afrikan Church. My name is Becky Evans, and I am proud to be our candidate for Georgia House District 83. I'm the daughter of a pastor who spent his entire life fighting for social justice and a preschool teacher who taught me the value of community. I'm a first-time candidate, lifelong Democrat, wife, mother, 25-year DeKalb County homeowner. I'm a former healthcare technology project manager, 18-year volunteer with DeKalb Public Schools, nonprofit co-founder, community activist, and a recent political aide at the Capitol. But more than that, I am a reformer and I am a fighter. I believe we have too much preservation of political power in our politicians, and I believe that Representative Mosby has spent too little time in serving our community, as he has sat 16 years unchallenged in our seat. So I have a vision for our community where all the neighborhoods are healthy and prosperous and thriving. That means I'm going to be the strongest advocate that our neighborhoods have ever had to create safe and healthy neighborhoods. And I will fight to fully fund our education system, increase our teacher pay, and adjust the state funding formula to level the playing field between rich and poor communities. I will fight to close the economic gap, which is the largest in Metro Atlanta, and by fighting to increase the minimum wage, because no one who is working full-time should live in poverty. And I will fight to improve our criminal justice system, ending the school-to-prison pipeline. And I will do all of this with transparency and accountability. My name is Becky Evans, and I ask for your prayers, your support, and your vote in the primary.
Thank you. The first question I'd like to ask to the challengers specifically, and that is, how have you educated yourself on the legislative process and on the policy issues under the purview of the House? So let's start back at the end here with Ms. Evans. And you have 1 minute to respond.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so thank you for that question. So for 3 years, from 2015 through 2017, I served as an aide on local issues to Senator Elena Parent. And so I worked in her office. I'm on legislation, and I worked in responding to constituent concerns. And I especially worked on cityhood and annexation issues, which I do think prepares me for some of the discussions facing South DeKalb, and also on senior tax exemptions for Decatur. I worked on that process too.
Thank you. You can just keep moving down.
I have had a wonderful time learning what a state house representative can do. I go to the General Assembly, I've sat in on some of the committee meetings, and I've actually followed the committees that my incumbent is a part of to see what the actions are that they take and to see what the decisions are. I am a community servant. The political arena is fairly new to me, but I'm really excited about it. And the main thing is to take the time to listen to the people and study, because the process is already in place. All you have to do is follow the steps that are already there.
When it comes to legislation, let me tell you what I have done. When it came down to doing the research about cell towers on school grounds, we did the research and found out that children who are under those cell towers have an increase in cancer. So we had them put a non-binding referendum on the ballot, and over 62% of the taxpayers here in DeKalb County passed that they did not want those cell towers on school grounds. And not to mention the fact that most of those cell towers was going to be in South DeKalb. We passed the laws that delivered, or let's just say, we need to pass the law that would deliver over $100 million back to DeKalb County. What am I talking about? That is the formula that they use to divide up the money as far as schools are concerned. They've been collecting $100 million out of DeKalb County since 2006. The law that we need to pass hasn't even been touched.
Thank you.
Like I said, my background, I have a PhD, so I'm a researcher by trade. I'm always looking at how things affect my community. So recently, I've been all the way to Washington. I've met with Hank Johnson and David Scott. I've been to the General Assembly. So I do all my due diligence. But the most important thing that I always say is, if you want knowledge, and if you want some research, just ask a lot of questions, listen, and don't forget. So I'm always on a fact-finding mission. So I'm always saying what is going to affect our community, and that was one of the reasons why I got into the race, because I found out that a lot of times legislation just goes right by our community. There's nothing that's changing the trajectory of our community.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I just want to tell you that I've been down to the State House for the last 4 years, probably more times than I don't remember. Okay, and during that process, I found that currently elected leadership, as I said before, has been pretty much absent or non-existent. The current young lady running against, there's nothing that came out of her representation over the last 4 years. There's not one thing that came out of the committee. She may have signed on to some bills as a sponsor, but that's not anything. But what I've learned as an authority of Robert Rules of Order, understand you gotta understand Robert Rules of Order. And a lot of us don't understand that, to get anything accomplished. What I also understand is that you gotta cross the aisle and talk to the Republicans and talk to Democrats in order to get something done. You gotta go in there with an open mind, which I have. And that's my plan, to go in with an open mind and make changes and support wherever needed.
Thank you. The next question, I'd like to start with the incumbents, and if we could start with Representative Williams. What do you consider to be the top 1 to 2 issues facing your district in the next couple of years, and what role have you played or would you like to play in addressing those?
Thank you. Very good question. The roles that I see in my district at this time is making sure that we have good law enforcement officers in the area, in the community. I played a lot of role in making sure that we have people that come to the area in which I live. We can do much better on the educational level. I'm a 35-year retired teacher, and we need to be looking at how we can better serve our students, serve our teachers, and also making sure that parents understand their role in the community also.
Thank you. Representative Stevenson.
Thank you very much. The first issue in our community would be we must respect and understand what we need to do. And last year in the budget, everyone was so happy that the first time ever, the governor had given 100% of the QBE formula. However, that does not do DeKalb any good. We should know that we have more facilities than any other area. We're the donors. We pay for Gwinnett. We pay for them. So then, I know we don't have time for the transit, but I can talk about that as well. But our communities need to look at what it is that the money is being taken from in our communities and change it back around, because it is not doing us any good.
Thank you. Mr. Hurd?
What I see needs to happen is, number one, I rode down County Road and I rode down Western Chapel, and I see that we have no economic development. Elected officials should start talking about economic development and do something about it. They should start focusing on making sure that all of our kids have an opportunity to go to STEM programs, career academies. They should have an opportunity also to go to technical school, college, even graduate school, get some type of support from the state in doing so. There's been no support. I feel that moving forward, we have to come together and coalesce. And coalitions to make sure that we all can participate. Everybody needs to be all in, the elected officials, the community, and the parents as well. We need to make sure that in that our school board understands that they can't live apart from this community. If there needs to be a tag, we need to have MARTA down I-20. House Bill 215 says that there should be somebody there to represent South DeKalb. There's been nobody representing South DeKalb there for the last 2 years. So something should be done about that. You shouldn't allow somebody to be in office and not have that position filled for 2 years. We don't have representation.
Ms. Davis, or I'm sorry, Mr. Shealy. Would you like me to repeat the question? Oh, no, this question was answered first by the incumbents, and so we're just gonna go down and let the challengers answer as well. So the question is, what do you consider to be the top 1 or 2 issues facing your district in the next couple of years, and what role would you like to play in addressing them?
The biggest issue I believe is facing District 90 is apathy. I think one of the reasons why we don't see a lot of change is because people believe what it's been is going to be for a long period of time. So we need to make a change in how we approach legislation. It's not always we have to do things through the state government. We have to do things through community involvement. So if you're elected as state representative, I think you need to get out into the community, find out what the community wants, and find out a way to get it done. See, I keep hearing, ever since I've been running, I keep hearing that we can't get things done because the Republicans run the legislation process. Well, if we take that chance, if we take that position, then we can't get anything done. And I know as an entrepreneur, that's something that I could never.
Thank you. Ms. Davis.
Being an actual plaintiff in the Brown versus Board of Education is one of the reasons I take the issue of education so seriously. We need to stop being a donor. We cannot afford it anymore. That is one of the issues that should have been addressed over 10, 15 years ago. So, no excuses. This has to change. And if they want to switch out and switch us with a receiver, switch us out with Gwinnett. Why should we have to finance Gwinnett? The next issue, I know we can bring some money back if we stop being a regional financier for everybody else. We finance education, we finance health. We pay Grady. They buy helicopters to bring them in to Grady so that we can pay for it. Wake up, people. Employers of this government, you deserve better. And people riding on that I am an incumbent just don't get it anymore.
One of the things that I felt we as a state have not enforced enough. 2015, our governor signed a bill that got rid of that graduation test. We lost thousands of students for many years, from 1991 all the way up to 2015, who had earned their credits, some, but they could not pass the graduation test. Now, I'm just going to admit to you, I was fun in school. If I'd had to do that after I earned my credits and did my finals, I probably wouldn't have passed it either. But I got smarter after I got out of high school. We need to educate, we need to give our children, those children that have earned those credits, they need their diplomas because they cannot move on in life without that diploma. Plus, we have a problem with blight and code enforcement. We have too many property owners, I'll say in my district, that own facilities that just stand there after their businesses are over and becomes blight.
Thank you, Ms. Evans.
Yes, I think the two most important issues facing our community are education and economic development. So as far as education goes, investing in our children reaps long-term benefits, and so I think it is very important to do what we were talking about. We need to adjust the state funding formula. That's one reason why DeKalb is a contributor. We're a donor. We need to adjust the state funding formula so that we can receive some of our poor schools can receive some state funding. I want to fight for teacher pay increase. Teachers are the most important resource for improving students' performance, and our Georgia teachers, the starting salary is $33,000, and 44% of our teachers leave the school system within 5 years. We have absolutely got to do better to improve education. And finally, for economic development, I want to work with Decide DeKalb, with the business alliances, and with neighborhood groups to work together to find solutions.
Thank you. Governor Deal just signed HB 930 rebranding MARTA as the ATL, for the Atlanta Region Transit Link Authority, and giving them regional transit planning authority over 13 metro counties. What are your thoughts on this plan, and how can you play a role in ensuring fairness and how projects are chosen and monies are expended, considering that DeKalb has been supporting MARTA long before other counties have? So I'd like to start with Representative Stevenson. We'll go down and come back and end with Mr. Hurd.
Thank you, it's a pleasure. Not to think that we're going to fund it because we've been doing that over and over again. That's like what we do to Gwinnett. And I say that because if we look at the way it is set forth now, Gwinnett and Cobb, those two counties have the ability to vote and 100% vote in order for them to be a part of the ATL. That's not going to work because we're not going to give any more of our money away like that. The same thing, we talked about healthcare. I did the transition for Grady. We gave our money, but now, while they were writing about me, I made sure that we had 20% MBE programs. I made sure that we had access to mental health, that we redid it, and then when people came from outside of our counties that we were paying, they paid back. The health system, delivery system, must do what's right, but what we call our transit system,
we have to make sure that it is, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
I think the ATL, I think that idea, it was a good start, but the biggest problem with that is I think every county that's a part of it should be forced to pay into it. The problem is when they're not forced to pay into it, that there's going to be some counties that are going to pay more, who are going to benefit less, and there's some counties who are going to pay less and they're going to benefit more. The end.
Thank you.
One of the problems with well, it's not a problem. I'm the type of person who's gonna tell you the truth. Yes, that's a pretty picture he painted. But what they were able to do is take that first step to take over the transportation without putting no money in it. I'm here to say to you that if they wanted to have a real ATL, they should have came with the money first before changing the name. We pay over $22 to $33 million per month to run MARTA. The secret is y'all don't know that backdoor money that they're getting. And a lot of the incumbents can't even begin to tell you where that money is, where it went, what they doing with it. They won't even do an open records to find out. I am ready to be your employee. And one of the first things I'm gonna do is tell you what's going on.
Thank you very much. The transportation bill is not a good bill, but it is a start. Because, number one, we have been paying Fulton County, DeKalb County, and we would like to have other counties to participate. We know, I as an incumbent and as a 16-year person that has served in the House of Representatives, know that you should have identified those projects, but they was not identified. But I still voted for the bill because we have to start somewhere, and that was a good start.
It's sad to say that we just started. We just started. DeKalb and Fulton have been paying that money for many, many years, and it should have been addressed many, many years ago. Just started. That's a sad thing to say because all of those other counties have been using our MARTA system. They ride it hard. You can't even get on there. They should have been paying. And our incumbents that have been sitting there 28, 16, 10 years should have already taken care of that for the people.
So the money that was, oh, sorry, that's all right. Yes, so the money that was just voted on by the legislature this year was a drop in the bucket. It was $100 million. In 2015, the very first time Georgia gave money to transportation, it was $75 million. So it's true, I agree that it's a start, and I agree that we absolutely must fight for DeKalb to be first in line when the state starts making real investments, capital investments in systems. And I will absolutely fight for DeKalb to be first in line and over any other county that's starting to use the ATL.
Thank you. And Mr. Hurd will get the last word.
They take more than 30.
Don't cross Raj.
She might want to hear it. I'm just going to tell you the truth. As far as MARTA is concerned, privately, I've been working on MARTA for 5 years before I even began to start participating to become a representative. So privately, I've been working with a group to bring MARTA down I-20, not just this fake I-20 going to Stonecrest. We're talking about bringing MARTA from Indian Creek to Western Chapel Supermodal Station, moving on to Stonecrest with light rail, coming back down I-20 with light rail also in the center of the interstate. Our representative, Fred Daniels, the only representative we have on the MARTA board, said it couldn't be done. It can be done. The guys that I'm working with are civil engineers, and and they've done it. They've done the Lennox Station and other stations around town. They did the fifth runway at the airport, so we can bring them on down I-20. That's what we're working on. It's a $5.2 billion project. When it comes to the table and it's presented, you guys just need to support it. Step up, okay? Be accountable.
Let's give our candidates a round of applause, please. And we would like to invite our very patient Senate candidates up on stage. And while we are welcoming them up on stage, we'd like to recognize Ms. Teresa Hardy, who is the president of the DeKalb NAACP. Thank you for joining us. Is Sabrina McKenzie still with us? Sabrina McKenzie? So we'll go ahead and get started, and we'd like to invite our candidates who are present with us this evening to open up with their opening remarks. But first, we've got 3 races ongoing for the state senate, and that is District 41. The incumbent is Steve Henson, challenger Sabrina McKenzie. District 43, which is represented up here on stage, incumbent is Tanya Anderson, and the challenger is Joel Thibodeau. And then in District 44, the incumbent is Gail Davenport, and the challengers are Sandra Daniels and Keith Horton. So we'd like to go ahead and start with Mr. Thibodeau, and you can open up. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to thank First Afrikan Church and CrossRoadsNews for hosting this forum. It's one I've been looking forward to for quite a while. My name is Joel Thibodeau. I'm offering myself for service in the 43rd Senate District of Georgia. I'm the Director of Internal Audits for the local school system. I sit on the board of the Arabian Mountain National Heritage Area, and I am the co-founder of the Stonecrest Schools Foundation, along with my Platinum Peach, my wife Stacy. Previously, I served on the chair of the Governor's Commission for the City of Stonecrest. I worked for the Senate Budget Office for 4 sessions, and I also am, like I said, I'm offering myself for office. Why am I running? When I sat in my office at the Senate budget, I had a map of the 43rd Senate District above my desk. And I looked at that thing every day. And I said, look at all the potential we have if only we had the right representation and the right leadership in place to push forward the people's agenda. We are ripe for economic development. We are ripe for additional investment in higher education. We have a very talented and educated workforce that travels every day somewhere else to build somebody else's community and to build somebody else's economy. What I want to do is I want to bring those resources back here. I want to invest in our community and bring quality jobs here so that parents can be involved with their schools. I want to see dual enrollment programs, both in technical and in college education, so we can cut costs and have a job-ready workforce. I want us to capitalize on the film industry that makes billions off of this area, and we don't employ anyone. I'm Joel Thibodeau. I'm running for Senate District 43. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Anderson, and I am the state senator for Senate District 43, which covers a portion of DeKalb, Rockdale, and Newton. Prior to being a state senator, I was a state representative. and a city council member and mayor. I have not been sitting, I have been serving to bring sidewalks and improvements to our downtown development. $1.2 million streetscape project improvement, bringing lighting, public safety, and safe routes to school. As a state representative fighting for a living wage, $15 an hour minimum wage in the state of Georgia, as it is one of the lowest states for minimum wage. Fighting for teachers, better pay, for working families, for seniors, for children. Fighting so that you can have access to affordable health care, as I sponsored and actually signed up folks for the Affordable Care Act. Fighting so that we can continue to have a viable community. Fighting so that we are funding our public education, and it is a start out of that $26 billion budget to bring $9 million back to DeKalb. That is not all, but it is a start. Fighting for transit, fighting for our living wages, fighting so that seniors can have protections, fighting so that crime victims can have protections, as Marcy's Law, which I voted on, will be on the ballot to protect our crime victims, fighting so that seniors and elderlies are not abused by anyone or any system, fighting so that we can continue to have economic development in this community. We do have an opportunity to continue the legacy of working for the people, fighting so that we can continue to bring better jobs to this area, fighting so that we can continue to bring living wages and better education to our DeKalb County school systems. Thank you.
Thank you. And since you both kindly addressed the issues, you can sit. Since you both kindly addressed the issues that are of top priority to you in your opening statements, I'd like to jump right into some legislative issues and get your thoughts and positions on those. And some of these came up during this year's session. If you could comment on your position on changing DeKalb County's form of government from elected CEO to an appointed county manager. That actually came up, did not come up for a vote. And as many know, DeKalb is the only county that has that form of government, and it has been under debate for some time. So if you could respond with your thoughts on that. And we can start with Ms. Anderson.
So DeKalb County is the only form of government with the CEO, and it is also the only major or large minority county that is represented. And I do believe that the form of government that we have is working in place. We do have a brand new CEO. The amazing thing about having the CEO that we have now an attention put on transit, as that has been. We've paid a penny into the system, and we've talked about this penny that we paid, but there has been no plan, and without the plan, there's nothing that can be implemented. So our current CEO has implemented a plan, and we are moving forward. And I think, and we've seen his track record, and I think he is the perfect person for the position to move us from where we are to where we need to be, to a future of a healthy DeKalb, economically healthy, socially, and healthy educationally. So I think keeping our form of government in place as the county, a strong minority county, that we have the perfect person to keep us moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Thibodeau.
Thank you. I believe that our form of government needs to change. To say that we're the only county with a CEO, yes, we are, but that's a name only. We have some counties in Georgia that have one elected commissioner that runs the whole thing. And so I don't believe that our form of government needs to change. I do believe that we currently have the most effective public administrator that's ever held that seat. And I believe that we will get results out of that. If anything needs to be adjusted by the DeKalb County government, it's the size of the commission districts. The commission districts that we have currently serve about 150,000 people each. That's the size of Savannah. So you've got a commission district, somebody who has only one vote that votes on the budget and policy, and he or she is supposed to represent 150,000 people. But at the same time, we say that there's no need for new cities. Well, how is your voice supposed to be heard? 1 out of 150,000 people. That's where the answer is.
Thank you. Currently, and this was a question that was also planned for the House candidates, but we're short on time. This affects everyone, so we'll pose it to you all as well. Currently, HB 600 is awaiting a decision from the governor that addresses such things as term limits for the mayor's office for the city of Stonecrest, as well as limiting the office of the mayor to voting only in the case of a tie. Could you talk about your position on that and why? And we can start with Mr. Tipton.
I wrote the governor a letter last week urging him to veto HB 600. It's simply not a good piece of legislation. It takes away the vote of the mayor without giving him a veto. That means the mayor has absolutely no power. It limits the terms of the mayor only and includes the first term, which was only the 2-year, so that we can begin to rotate our city elections. So if they're gonna limit the terms, it should start with the first 4-year term. But what makes this bill worst of all is that it is while this city is still forming. We are still negotiating intergovernmental contracts with that same capable public administrator that we mentioned before. We are still negotiating contracts for our SPLOS development. How is a city supposed to build itself and grow when the executive has absolutely no power and leaves all the decisions to a city council that can't decide whether or not a contract is real or not?
Representative Anderson. Representative Anderson. Senator Anderson, thank you.
So HB 600 is a HB because it started in the House. And initially it had maps attached to it and a lot of other things included in the bill. But in particular, at this point, it has been downsized to just the mayor's term limits and his voting power. The mayor should only vote in the condition that there is a tie. The city council is there to legislate. The position of any mayor in any city is there to be the executive branch. As I have been a mayor before, the perfect setup that I see right now is in the city of Stonecrest with a city manager, an assistant city manager. But with this bill being drawn the way that it is, it keeps transparency in place, and it keeps the powers from crossing from legislative to executive branch so that there is clear definition in everyone's role.
Thank you, and we'll have to leave it there for tonight, just out of respect for everyone's time. We have a lot more questions that hopefully Crossroads News will get to follow up on in the coming week. But we'd like to thank our Senate candidates. If you could give them a round of applause. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jennifer Carter. Thank you.
Give Sally a big round of applause. Thank you all so much. First of all, I'd like to give Juan Parks, who's running for the 4th Congressional District, 2 minutes to say hello. We did not include the 4th District in the panel because Congressman Hank Johnson is in Congress today and was not able to be here. And so Juan gets 2 minutes to tell us about why he's running. And so before you all disappear, I wanted to thank you all for taking the opportunity to come and hear directly from the candidates. I know we didn't have a lot of time to get into all the issues, but we have the questions. We will get answers from them this week, and it will be in the paper that comes out on Saturday. And so just 1 minute to think. 2 minutes, I think.
Okay, good evening, everyone. For those of you that are left, I am Juan Parks. I am a United States Marine. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm an educator, and I'm also a candidate for U.S. Congress right here in Georgia's 4th Congressional District. Over the past 7 months or so, I've been asked often, why am I doing this? And I want to make a few things clear. One thing in particular, I am not running against the incumbent. I am running for something, and I am running for change. And let's talk about the changes that we need to make. I've heard a lot about them up here this evening. And one of those things that my opponent has done over the past 7 months is he's reminded everyone that he would take care of home over the past 12 years. And he's probably done that. But how well becomes the question. Because I hear the problems about traffic as you all came here, some of you late. And we all need to understand that the I-20 corridor in 285 is a federal highway that belongs to the federal government, and those dollars that need to come in here for development is the responsibility of the elected official for the 4th Congressional District. I will ensure for you that you no longer have to worry about commuters taking up your surface streets for your daily commutes because they figured out how to cut the back roads. So, thank you. The other thing that I've heard about transportation has been MARTA. Specifically MARTA, a couple weeks ago I was a part of a working group. And they have plans to come from Indian Creek down to Wesley Chapel. Good idea. Not so much. Because why do we want to displace those communities between those two locations when we have the 285 corridor? We can make a hard left down I-20 and run MARTA all the way to the ocean if we so decide. We have solutions out there. We just need to work better for the same result. And if you give me an opportunity on May 22nd, I promise you that I will work diligently to fulfill the promises that I am giving to you this evening. I promise you that I will be your voice. I will empower you as a representative for the 4th Congressional District. When you cast your vote, cast it for Juan Parks, Leadership for the Future. Thank
you. And so thank you all for coming, and of course, Pastor Lomax will send us all with the benefits.
Again, thank you for being here. Let us pray. God, we thank you for what we have heard. And thank you, Lord, for visions cast and promises made and visions confirmed. And pray those, oh Lord, who have presented tonight, and pray for the communities that we all represent. We ask that your will be done. Keep us, we pray, in the power of your Spirit. Keep us, Lord, as we do your work in the Word. Protect us, O Lord, as we speak truth in ways that needs to be spoken. For these blessings, O God, we give you thanks and praise. Amen.
Amen. And before you go, please give our able timekeeper a big round of applause. And remember, you can vote early. Early voting is on the way right now, so go out and speak.
I can't even vote.